Hi.
Hello. All right. So we have Patty here, and we've had some technical difficulties. We're figuring this out. So I wanted to invite Patty onto this call just to kind of do a little interview of her. She was sharing um, her story with me with endometriosis and some other things. I just um oh, is it recording now?
Yes, it was recording. I had to hang up the phone. Sorry.
Oh yeah, we were on the phone together. Okay, so there's a little introduction. So Pat, if you just want to just introduce yourself, and we know each other through Audaire, a company we work with, and we've become pretty close friends. And she's told me her story, and she's willing to share, and just to kind of give some insight into her journey with endometriosis and a few other things. So I appreciate you, sharing and being vulnerable, and maybe in hopes of helping other women who might have similar stories or situations they're going through.
Sure. Hi, my name is Patty Mike. I am Carla's friend, first and foremost. I am very thankful that Audaire actually brought her into my life because we have become good friends and we share a lot and we have a lot of likes in common that things that are important to us. And we are in different stages of our lives. So, that's a interesting dynamic of our relationship. So I am 54 years old and I did suffer with stage 5 endometriosis. I started having issues as an early teenager. Back then, it was 1985. They didn't know anything about endometriosis, really. You're talking pre internet, pre everything, Carla. And I suffered that all the way until I was 29. And at 29, I had a complete hysterectomy, which
Wow.
went into other complications that we can get into this time or another time, depending on how far we get into the story.
And so for before your hysterectomy, you had how many children?
One,
You have one.
yes. And she was the only child that I was able to conceive. I did actively try for 7 years after her to have another child. So I had, on top of dealing with endometriosis and all the surgeries that went along with that, I was also doing um, infertile therapy,
Mhm.
trying to get pregnant by doing multiple different things for that,
Yeah.
which in turn made the endometriosis worse. But like I said, it was not it, there was hardly anything out there about it then.
Yeah. And so I think the goal of this call was just to kind of bring awareness, and now I feel like there is a little bit more awareness of endo, but still the research out there is that it still takes women like almost 8 years to get a diagnosis. So do you remember like what some of your first symptoms were when you were younger, and how that kind of impacted you, growing up as a young woman, and you were in the military, right, and different things?
Yes, I was a military spouse, so I moved around a lot, which meant I saw a lot of different doctors. So that was the first thing. I didn't get to really establish one OBGYN throughout all of this because I did get married at 19 and we were in the military, so we were in different places. Yes, my first symptom when I was 15 years old, I was in high school and I can remember it clearly. I got up to turn in a paper and collapsed to the floor in pain. Before that, I always had heavy menstrual cycles. So that was always a thing along with cramps. But at the age of 15, which was not long after I began menstruating because I was a late bloomer in that area. I started having very heavy periods and cramps and pain. and they put me in the hospital. Again, this was 1985. And they told my mom that I had an infected ovary, which now when I think about that, I'm like, what does that even mean? And how did they even know that? They did an
Mhm.
ultrasound, back then. And I was in a one horse town. So that even made it worse. Um, so after that, I just always continued with heavy menstrual cycles and heavy cramps and pain. So I did that all the way until I was 19 and got married. And at that time, I did go on birth control, which helped it. And I was married for about a year and a half before we decided to try to get pregnant. And I did. I did have a successful pregnancy and birth. She is now 32. Hard to believe. So during that time, it was okay. And then after she was born, I went back on the pill for 2 years. And so it was better. And when I decided to try for another one when she was 2, which would now make me 23, that's when the problems started. The continuous um, exploratory surgeries, the heavy periods again, the heavy cramping. And you said people, it's hard to navigate around it. Yes, because, and I'm assuming it's still this way now, but the only way that they can 100% tell you that you have endo is for them to go in and do an exploratory surgery. And unless they can, yeah, take your symptoms and kind of think that you are or have it, but without going in, then they're not for 100% going to know.
So did you have that laparoscopy after you had your baby?
Yeah, I had, yes,
Okay.
I had several of them, but that's when it started. I did not have
After.
the only thing medical wise that happened was being hospitalized as a 15-year-old until after I started trying to have another child when my daughter was 2.
Yeah. And so you had the hysterectomy at 29, and then after that, what was life like after you had that surgery? Was it helpful for you? Tell us about that.
Well, this could be like a scary story, but bring awareness. And
Yeah.
at the very end, I do want to talk about there are different things you can do now naturally that I had no idea about back then. Um, when I had my hysterectomy, 9 months prior to that, they had gone in to clean me up one more time for me to try to get pregnant again. And I went in for that exploratory surgery with just thinking that I was having that. But when I woke up, they had to make the decision along with my husband to remove my left tube and ovary because it was
Oh,
so matted and it was just in a knot. And they told him that they were leaving the right side. We could still try to conceive on that side and that we would, go forward after post-op. So woke up to that, left tube and ovary removed, and we went 6 months hard of Clomid, which I know that's a old drug. I don't know if they use that anymore for fertility. So I did take 6 months shot of that to try to get pregnant. Back up a little bit, when I was going through those 7 years of trying to conceive, I did do different things. Like they stopped my period for 6 months with those shots. I can't remember what that medicine was called. So there were different things that we did try because, we were just trying all the different things. But when I was left with just one tube and ovary, they decided to do 6 months worth of Clomid to try to conceive. And that put me in a, I guess, a fury of the endometriosis growing. So by the time it
mm,
was 8 months, I was back in having the complete hysterectomy. So right after the surgery, obviously I felt better, because even I remember my friends coming to visit and they're like, your color looks so much better, just, just being out of surgery. You can just imagine when you have all that internal bleeding going on. But I wasn't going to do hormone replacement because of the chance, if any of it was left in there, the hormone would make it spread. And endometriosis doesn't just adhere to your female organs. They adhere to all kinds of organs, which I
Yeah.
did have an issue with later, um, with my colon. So that that happened. So yes, I felt good initially, but then it went to, I was 29 years old and I didn't have hormones.
Yeah.
And again, this was still pre-internet, Carla. So
Yeah.
didn't have the ability, to research without going to the library, um, what to do. I did as many natural things as I knew what to do at that time, but I didn't have a whole lot of information at hand. And remember, we were military. I was moving from place to place again, so
Yeah.
I really never really established. I had the complete hysterectomy actually in Alaska. So I started the journey of this in Kentucky, where I am from, and then I was in Louisiana, South Carolina, Alaska,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then ended up having my last of my surgeries here in Tampa.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm just thinking of, obviously the research and the just there's a lot more opportunities for women now, but even just this is a space for like virtual, my group is virtual women's pelvic health. So, if there are women in your situation that are moving around a lot, maybe establishing with a practitioner who does virtual calls and to have that carryover, that would have been maybe kind of helpful. So that's something that you know, um, would encourage women to ask their doctor, if that's something that could be an opportunity for them.
right, and I absolutely agree with that, and I love the platform that you have here, because you are giving women knowledge of how to prevent things that haven't happened yet. Um,
Mhm.
so that that is that is key. So like I said, I wanted to say before we got off, you can do things, and you put in here all the time about the healthy food and the good foods, and then the chemicals and things that we put on and in our bodies after the fact. Of course, when I had time to research it and the internet came along, of course I was researching a lot of things that I wish I would have known back then. But diet and the things that we use play a big role
Yeah,
in.
with the increasing inflammation and just also like nervous system strategies, there are a lot of things that can help to, um, try to, maybe not get rid of all of that inflammatory process in within the abdominal wall and all of that, but can kind of help to put it at bay a little bit.
Yes.
So on the conversation of kind of prevention, I know we don't have a lot of time left because you have another call to do, but we were talking about the testing that you've had done. Do you want to go over that real quick too? That's really
Yes, I
interesting to
will.
me.
So I went through all of that, complete hysterectomy, 29. I am now 48 at this time. And my sister, which is 10 years older than me, so she was 58 at the time, was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And we have a family history of cancer, which we already knew. Our father died of lung cancer, our grandmother, our aunt, the list goes on. Um, when you talk about genetics, it's heavy in our dad's side of the family. So when my sister discovered that she had ovarian cancer, her doctor, her oncologist, tested her for the BRCA gene, and she was positive for the BRCA one, and that is the gene that makes you susceptible genetically to ovarian cancer, breast cancer, and prostate cancer. So once she came back positive, her oncologist said, your children and your siblings, especially if you have sisters, but even males, should be tested right away. And so there are four of us kids, three girls and one boy. My brother wasn't tested, but both of myself and my other sister, we were tested. And how the genetic testing works, if you hit a negative in the genetic testing, then your children, they don't have to be tested. Obviously, unless you think there's something on the other side. But as far as your side goes, they don't need to be tested because it won't be passed on. But if you're positive, then you would want your children to be tested. So our oldest sister, she was negative, I was positive, and I was 48. So my OBGYN is the one who did my testing. And when that came back, then it went to a genetic specialist that we met with that went over everything that was personalized. I know where that book is, Carla. I should have had it in my hand. It goes over every single gene in your body. And it's all your chances, your genes. Like I even have another mutated gene that has nothing to do with cancer, but she went through all of that, and it gives you your chances. So it gives you your chances at the age that you are now, the probability that you will develop cancer, and then it gives you the probability after the age of 50. And then I think it does it again after like 65 or something. But at 48, my probability was something like 57%, whereas the normal 48-year-old woman without the gene, her chances, I think, was like 32 or even less percent than that. But when I hit 50, my personal chance went up to 89.
Wow.
Whereas the normal woman without the cancer gene, I think, still sits at around 30 something. I'd have to look at that. I should have had that. So I had a decision to make. And I was telling you, it's called a Previvor. Did I want to make the choice of being reactive and preventative and doing the double mastectomy and reconstruct, or did I want to take my chances? And my husband and I did a lot of praying and talking and research on it. And we just made the decision that with my family's history and with my personal history of female issues, that to us, it wasn't a matter of when you get it or if you get it, it was when you get it. Like, but we're not God, I understand, but we just felt like that was the best thing for my health to do. So I made the decision to do that. So at the age of 49, that's what I did. And I have not regretted it. I know that there's controversy out there about implants and that sort of thing. But I think that's a personal story and a personal choice. I personally have not had any issue with doing that, except the peace of mind that I have less than 0.01. They said they could never say a 0%, but they could say less than like 0.0001 chance that I would. Now, I will tell you that when I found out that I was positive, this is just knowledge that people may not know. When my OBGYN called me in, which when they say, we need you to come in to go over your results,
yeah, you're like,
because I was like, can you tell me? No, can't tell you over the phone. Okay, well, I'm positive. But when I went in for her to tell me the results, the first thing she did when she showed me the big red, because it's a big red paper that says positive, or my sister got a big green one that said negative, which I was happy for her. Um, she just took my hands and she was like, I have never been so happy to be sitting in front of a patient that already has their ovaries removed, because once you have your ovaries removed, it cuts your chance in half of having breast cancer. And I didn't know
Interesting.
that. And she said, but I'm still not, she was pro for me having it. She was like, you still have this heightened chance of developing breast cancer. So that was just the decision that we made, and I have felt that I made a good decision. And now I am 54. I have, my sister's 64, my other sister's getting ready to be 70. Now all of my friends are in their mid to late 50s, and um it really is sad because I have seen, probably since I had made this decision, personally, people that I know of 6 people who have had breast cancer, and I lost a really good coworker and friend to breast cancer that had the same exact gene that I have, and she didn't know it, and she was only 56 years old. And the BRCA gene that I have, it is called triple negative cancer, breast cancer, and it is the most aggressive and hardest type of breast cancer to treat. And it almost always, if you put those two together, almost always metastasizes in the brain. And my friend Kathy that did pass away, she did have 2 tumors in her brain before she battled it for 2 years. And she did have to come back. So I should have probably prefaced my decision with that. Kathy's journey definitely gave me zero doubt that I was not doing the right thing. I knew that I was doing the right thing for me.
Yeah. I mean,
So I do have to tell
just
you, I am in
having,
my mid 50s and I do feel better than I felt in my 20s and 30s.
okay. Yeah, you're super active and I love that. I love the story about, obviously we still don't know what's going to happen in the future, but, just cutting down the odds, like that, I think I would totally kind of be in the same situation. You want to try to do what you can.
Yes.
And this conversation has really gotten me thinking a lot because there is a lot of cancer in my family as well. So, just kind of asking more questions, our family history, it definitely can help to shine light onto prevention of things.
Yes, it does.
So
And I will tell you, thankfully, 8 of us were tested, as in my siblings, children, nieces, and cousins. And luckily, there was only one other person that was positive, but unfortunately, it is my daughter. And she is still in childbearing years. She has had 3 boys. She's not for sure if she is finished. I'm not for sure what she will do, but I will tell you that she is very, she does everything natural. We've had this conversation. She's very holistic.
yeah,
She knows what she needs to do with her eating, with the things that she has around her. Even she moved her, I would have never even thought of this, but when she found out she was positive, she her motherboard that we all have on the outside of where we're staying, where our Wi-Fi and all that comes
oh
from,
yeah,
she even moved her bed across the room away from that, because that was something that her doctor gave her an idea to do. And she is very, very careful about what she puts on and in her body, which is one thing that really hooked me on All Dare was when I sent it to her. And in my mind, I said, I didn't say anything to, our owner, but in my mind, I was like, my kind of go-to is going to be Kayla, which is my daughter, to see if she approves of this product. So she does, and I'm very thankful that she is aware of her surroundings and how she eats and what she uses and all of that.
Yeah. I think
So
there's been a big push recently in the last couple of years that people are opening their eyes to the things that are in our foods we're eating, daily products, the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi, the EMFs, like all of that. So,
because
um,
you only know what you know, and unless we're making people aware of it, which is what you are doing in your business, that that's what you have to do. You have to make people aware.
yeah, and to
Because
make, their
knowledge is
the
what you.
best choices for their themselves and for their family. So,
That's right.
well, Patty, I know you have another call soon, so I super appreciate you sharing all of
Oh,
that,
you're
and I
welcome.
hope it resonates with other people, and just to kind of get them thinking about other preventative things and with their healthcare. And
Absolutely. And if anyone in here wants to reach out to me, feel free. I would love to talk if anyone has questions. That was the short version of the story.
yeah,
So I can be available if anyone has any questions. So thank you, Carla.
all right. Thanks for
All right.
chatting.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. Bye.